right, welcome back for another episode of Last to Know. This is my series where I look at those final issues in runs that may be worth a few extra dollars that you might not be aware of. You know, those final issues, those last issues in a series of an ongoing that may have ended early as print runs went down. Some of those books can be quite collectible and be worth, like I said, a little bit more than you might expect. So I'm going to run down some of those more interesting ones for you here on Last to Know. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And if you want to see this week's rundown of books, just hang on for a few seconds and I'll be right back. All right, so let's get right into it. I've got about a dozen books that I want to cover, and I kind of grouped them into three little parts here. So we're going to start off first with a few DC books that I found a little bit interesting. We're going to start light and keep it interesting. And with Peacemaker Season 2 coming very, very soon, we can expect to see more interest back in our fan favorite character, Vigilante. At least a lot of people enjoy it. I think he's pretty funny, and I like the rendition that they're doing on that Peacemaker show with Vigilante. But here, let's not forget that Vigilante actually did have a pretty long-running series. I mean, 50 issues is not a small run. I mean, that's a decent ride, if you ask me. And issue 50 was the end of that run. Now, you're not going to get rich if you find an issue 50 of Vigilante, but it's still a fun little book for you to go and track down. And yes, on average, it can get you about $5. So what I'm saying is you find it in a dollar box, you get 5 for it. That's a good profit, right? It's a good return on investment. Meanwhile, listing prices for this, those asking who have decent copies of this are looking for 10 to 15. So yeah, you might be fishing for a little bit more, but who knows? And again, like I said, with the show coming back, interest will be back in Vigilante. We may see some of those numbers closer to $10 to $15 now as opposed to the $5 when I did my research. So it's just something to keep in mind and to be aware of. And it's just a fun book for you to go and look for. That final issue of that Vigilante series was issue 50. And with that, there's not a ton of them graded in 9.8 at least. I'm just giving you the 9.8 numbers just for context. So there's only 16. So keep that in mind as well. Now, the next DC book that I want to talk about is another forgotten series. Remember when they really didn't have a place for poor Tim Drake, who was he's probably my favorite Robin. I don't know. Personally, I like Tim Drake. And for a while there, they had him running around as Red Robin because they didn't really have a place for him. So this is kind of that new 52 time, and he had a decent run, 26 issues of Red Robin. And this is the final one. So his final run of Red Robin. Again, Red Robin was a character, was from Kingdom Come, and they just kind of brought it to the new 52, I think, again, just to give Tim Drake something to do. Because, I mean, they had Damian. I mean, Dick Grayson was already moved on to being Nightwing. Jason Todd became the Red Hood. Like, Tim Drake was just like the odd man out, didn't have anything to do. So they made him Red Robin. With that, this book does all right. You're not going to get rich, but $15 on average isn't bad for a book that you probably weren't even thinking about. You probably weren't thinking, hey, I should go dig in a box and look for Red Robin number 26. And hey, maybe I find it for $1 and I can get 15 for it. Just saying. Listings, it's even a little bit more. They're looking for $20 to $35 for this one. So keep that in mind as well. Just for context, I'm not saying if you find one, you're going to get 20 to 35. I'm just saying other people have this listed in that range. And I also gave you what people are on average paying for it. That all said, this is a moment in time snapshot. And even now, there are still outliers higher and lower from the numbers I'm giving. I'm just trying to give you ballpark figures so you got a general idea when you're out there digging of what you actually found. So in case you find a Red Robin and they want $5 for it, now it's your call. Is $5 too much for this? With the return you might get? I don't know. It's up to you what you want to gamble. But I will tell you this. If you do want to gamble, you might find that first 9.8 because there are none in the census for this book right now. There is the highest graded is a 9.4 for this Red Robin number 26. So keep that in mind as well. No one has graded this in 9.8 as of yet. So if you find a nice, crispy copy out there, you could have found the first if you decide to submit it, obviously. Now, with that said, we've seen a lot about Mr. Terrific here and other appearances, etc. I think he shows up here and before this, series ends, but this is the final issue of Spectre, which is the series that Mr. Terrific did first appear in what was it, issue 54? So like a handful of issues before this was his first appearance, but issue 62 is when they decided to call it quits for the Spectre. Now this book does all right. On average, you're looking at 20 to 30 bucks on average sales for this, which again, ain't too bad. If you can go and find this for cheap in a box, it's Spectre 62. If you didn't know, that was the last issue, because not all of these series end on a round number like issue 50. I mean, hell, even 26 isn't a round number, but issue 62 also is one of those oddball finishes. So keep that in mind when you're digging, or if you come across it, know what you found, because not everything, even though this does say it, it's very small. Not all of them say final issue on it, but this does have actually final issue in the top, see that top right corner there? So not every one of them does. Some of them might put something like this is the end, or the last this, or final that. Sometimes, but not always. So with that said, this final issue is listed for 40 to 60 currently. So it's listed for even more than what it's getting, but that's always the case because, offers get made, deals get hashed out, best offers, etc. So keep that in mind. If you find this for cheap, you might have found yourself a nice little book. And as far as CGC 9.8s go, it's like the other one. We got 18. So not a huge number, but 18 is not bad, I guess. Now, with that, one more DC book, and we're actually going to go more on the kiddie side of things because I'm a fan of the cartoon. My son loves it more than me, but I am a fan of Teen Titans Go. It's just a fun little series. Kids and adults can both enjoy it for different reasons. And Teen Titans Go had a comic, and it ended with issue 55 here. So this is another one you want to keep an eye out for, because this one, you probably didn't know, is about a $40 book as far as average sales go. It's 40 bucks for Teen Titans Go, that final issue. Not all Teen Titans books are worth anything, but that final 55 is a $40 book. Meanwhile, asks are 50 to 80 right now. So the asking prices on this is even more. So who knows? Maybe you find one you hold out. Maybe you get closer to 50 to 80. It's up to you. But there aren't a lot of 9/8s. Unlike the last book, this only one has 8 as opposed to 18. So only 8 9/8s for this particular book. And it being a kid's book, that makes a lot more sense. It might have found its way onto a spinner rack as opposed to on the wall. Not bagged and bordered, just kind of hanging over, bent in half, crushing that spine. You know how those kids' books usually go. At least in a lot of shops I've been to, they put the kids' books on those spinner racks because, again, I guess it's nostalgia's sake, and they don't care that the spinner racks will actually damage your books pretty good if you overstuff them, which, most shops have to do. But with that said, that's our first little chunk of books. And before we get on to our next segment, I just want to take a quick moment to remind any of you out there who need supplies, you can go over to BCW, get your bags, your boards, your long boxes, your short boxes, CGC boxes, top loaders, pages for your cards, top loaders for your cards. Basically, anything to keep your comics or collectibles safe. You can find something over there and save yourself 10% off your entire order by using my code RENA10. So that's RENA10 to save 10% off your whole BCW order. So you got to buy the supplies anyway. You might as well save 10% while you do it. So use that code. You help out the channel. You get yourself a discount. You got nothing to lose. And with that, let's stay more on the childlike nostalgia for a little bit longer and go to our next little group of books that I want to tell you about, starting off with another DC book, Animaniacs. I love this series too. Back in the day, it was always fun. I love the songs with all the countries and all that. Yakko and Wacko. I enjoy it. And Dot. Don't forget Dot. With that said, this is Animaniacs featuring Pinky and the Brain. Also, excellent characters and fun. This is the end, though, of the Animaniacs with issue 59. So keep that in mind. Another not round number, 59 is that last issue. And this used to be much more expensive. This used to net you like 50 bucks solid for a while there. These days, it's only averaging 10 bucks as far as sales go, which, okay, that's pretty cheap. Again, condition sensitive. So you're not going to find a lot of 9/8s of these because, again, it's a kid's book. But there are still some folks out there, as far as asking prices go, looking for that 25 to 55, which is more of what I remember this book being at back in the day. So like I said, it might be down a little bit now as far as what people are paying for it, but the asks are still there. So the value in a lot of people's minds is still there if you can net one or find one out there when you're out there doing your hunting. And as I said, not a lot of 9/8s, as this one's only got 3. So only 3 9/8s in the census for this final issue of Animaniacs. So keep that in mind as well if you find yourself a nice one. Okay, so this next book is sort of kid nostalgia, at least nostalgia for me, but also newer because they decided to revamp and update and kind of mix things up with Scooby Apocalypse not that long ago. So it was the 50th anniversary of Scooby Doo. So again, I'm dating myself a bit, but Scooby Doo as a cartoon, it was a lot of fun. This was Scooby Apocalypse where they're fighting zombies, etc. It ran 36 issues. So this is the final run, the final issue of that run, which actually had some Jim Lee covers at the start. A lot of interesting stuff that goes with this Scooby-Doo Apocalypse series. But the final issue, 36, had 2 covers. So I'm going to show you both. They both sell for about the same, but this is the cover A, and it averaged sales about 20 bucks. So about 20 bucks if you could find one of these, cover price or less, you've done well for yourself. And listings are pretty close. They look for more like 25, but here's that B cover in case you find this instead of the other one. There are 2 covers, both open order, both priced about the same. So 20 bucks is what they're selling for. 25 is what a lot of folks are asking. And as far as graded copies go, there's a 9/8 of each, and that's it. So only 198 a piece for the cover A and the cover B. So once again, if you find a nice one out there, maybe you can join this exclusive group of 1 and 1. Just saying. All right, now we're going to go back a little bit further. Not further than Scooby-Doo, but we're going to just stay there. Not with the Scooby-Doo newer series of Apocalypse, but we're going to go back to the Care Bears. I don't know if you guys remember Care Bears. This is back in the Marvel days. Marvel also when they were doing those Star comics for a while. But this is the final issue of Care Bears where it actually ran 20 issues. Can you believe Care Bears ran 20 issues? But this, again, used to be a bit pricier than I remember, than where it is now. It's still a decent $25 book. Like, it's getting 25 bucks these days. But the listings, this is more what I remember. I remember this more being listed in that $50 to $75 range, and that's where it's listing right now. I think I found one listed for 75 bucks. So that's where this is at right now. While somebody got one at a discount, you might think at 25 bucks, you got to find yourself where you think the market is, because it's not like a ton of copies are moving for this. This is something that moves very slowly, and it might take some time for you to get that sale if you find a good one out in the boxes and you want to try to flip it yourself. Just saying. People are paying 25 right now, asking 75. And as far as graded copies go for the 9/8, you're looking at, again, a 1 spot. So only 1 Care Bears 9/8 in that final issue 20. Kind of interesting. Now, for our last one of this section, we're going to stay in this realm and also going to stay with the, the kiddie books and, give the girls something for you guys to remember. I mean, I remember these toys as well, but these were directed at girls in the 80s, and we're not going to dispute that. But Strawberry Shortcake, those little, you remember? They were like, you could smell them like little figures that smell like blueberry muffins or strawberries, etc. Little figures. Just saying, I remember them. I had hung out with girls when I was a kid, and they had girl toys, and you played with what you had. So with that said, comic-wise, Strawberry Shortcake did get a 6-issue run, and there's that Star Comics imprint that I mentioned before with the Care Bears, because Care Bears was a part of that for a time. But Star was like just a separate little corner of the Marvel universe, not Marvel universe, but of Marvel printing more of these kids adaptation books, like, if you will. So issue 6 was the last Strawberry Shortcake, though. And again, it doesn't tell you that it's the last, but it is. It just is in this issue. It's the meanest book in the world. Whatever. This, you might be surprised to find that this still sells. And it sells for $60 to $70 right now. 60 to 70 bucks for a Strawberry Shortcake number 6. Let's keep that in mind. Listings, $150 to $250. That's right, $150 to $250 are average listings for raw copies of Strawberry Shortcake number 6. Just saying, something you might not have known, and something that you know to go look for when you're out there digging. And again, not a lot of 9/8s, only 2 in the census for this book, because again, it's a kid's book. Not a lot of people thought to get it graded. It's not an issue 1. It's the last issue. And again, that's a whole separate niche collecting kind of thing. And hey, there are people in there, and there are people paying for it. So keep that in mind. Now, with that said, I got one more chunk of books, but before we get to those, quick reminder, if you haven't tried Whatnot before, you can use my link down below and get yourselves a free 15 bucks off your first purchase to spend with anyone you want. Spend it on whatever you want with whomever you want. No strings attached. You sign up, you get 15 bucks off your first purchase just by using my invite link down below if you haven't tried Whatnot before. Yeah, I just did a sale this past weekend. I did some of those Fantastic Four packs, sold a bunch of stuff, had a lot of fun. I'll find my way back there again. But again, you don't have to spend it with me. You can spend this free 15 bucks anywhere you like. So go take a look if you haven't tried it out. It is still kind of a fun little thing, those live auctions. It's kind of a fun way to pass them for spare time if you have it. Now, for our last little segment here, I think we're going to go more Marvel stuff. So we're going to start off with a book that I remember being a lot more expensive for a time, and that was ROM. Remember ROM 75? For whatever reason, this one stuck in my head in those early days of me kind of like hunting and collecting, like, 10 years ago or so. Not my early days of comics, but me getting back into it kind of thing. And I remember always digging and looking for ROM 75. I don't know why. It's one of those ones that stuck in my head because I think at the time, that thing was like 25 bucks or whatever, and you can find these in dollar boxes and you get a quick 20-buck return. It was a lot of fun. These days, this poor ROM 75 is on hard times. ROM and the Space Knights is only getting you $5 these days for that final issue. It's sad. Saga at an end. But there's still some out there. Still looking for those numbers I remember, as listings go anywhere from 10 to 30 right now. So like I said, sometimes some of these books, they fall on some hard times, but they will bounce back eventually. So ride it out. But first, you got to find it. So see if you can find yourself a ROM 75, that final issue of the Space Knight. And there are plenty. There are plenty in the census. See, ROM was a thing back in the day. 48.98 for this issue. That's right. 48 for the final issue. Not number one, the final issue. Now, staying in the space side of things in the Marvel Cosmic Universe, let's look at Guardians of the Galaxy 62. This is the future first team Guardians, OGs, before the movies, before the Abnett and Lanning run kind of revamped the team around Star-Lord, etc. This is the OG squad with like Charlie 2000 and Prism and Yondu, etc. That OG squad ran 62 issues. Again, not a round number. 62. I think that's the same as Spectre, which is kind of weird, but 62 issues. But War of the Worlds. This is the end. Again, it doesn't really say that it's the last one, so you just got to know, and you got to know the number 62, because this one also is not going to make you rich. For a time, it was a little bit more expensive. Again, I remember it more of a $10 to $20 book, but these days it's only $5 to $10. I know that's not a big return, but hey, you never know, because the asking prices, again, are where I do remember them. The asking prices on this are 20 to 40. And I remember this being 20 to 40 bucks easily at one time. Like I said, sometimes books fall on hard times. I mean, Gunn's not making movies anymore. People aren't thinking about the Guardians, but we will see them again. We will see them again in the MCU. And that might remind people about the comics. It doesn't always have to be a one-for-one tie-in. It's just all about awareness and what just is resonating with people and, collectors at the time. So who knows? Guardians may come back our way. With that, just like the other books, we got 18 of this. That's weird. This number came back a few times. But 18.98 of this issue 62 in the census. Now, I got two more for you as we're wrapping up here. We're going to stick with Marvel and go with their, I don't want to say oddball titles, but those titles that often get overlooked and often get placed in those dollar bins, in those cheap boxes. I know, if you were like me and you do a lot of dollar bin digging, I know you've come across a lot of Marvel fanfares when you're digging in the box. You would get excited, hoping you'd find like Iron Maiden, or was that the name of that character that we got adapted in the Black Widow movie? It's like fanfare, was it like 10 and 11? It was 11 and 12. It was that early one, but there was like 2 issues of Marvel fanfare that you could look for that might be worth a couple of bucks. And then a couple ones that were the covers. There was like a Moon Knight cover that was getting a little bit of money for once a time. And we're talking about like 10 to 15 bucks. Nothing like breaking the bank or anything like that. It's just fun little Marvel fanfare books. This one clearly tells you it's the final issue of Marvel fanfare. And we've got a Cohen cover here. We've got Black Panther front and center. Pretty cool. And this still, it's $10. You're not going to get rich off of it, but $10 still ain't bad. It used to be more of a thing, but I think a lot of people these days, I mean, it's been decades since Marvel fanfare. I know Fantastic Four fanfare is trying to bring it back, bring that fanfare back, but I don't know. I think it might be past its time. But listings are still looking for $20. And again, that's more where I remember it. Remember this being more of a $20 plus book, but there it is. and the CGC has only 12, a dozen copies in 9.8. So in case you do find a nice clean one, you can join a pretty exclusive group and be that Baker's Dozen number 13. Just saying. And now our final book is another book that I remember this being more expensive. It's still a little expensive, but Marvel Comics presents. I know you've come across a lot of these too in those cheap boxes as well. But here it is at the end. As you got near the end, the covers got weird and got a little bit different, a little bit of a different style, but they still were a flip book. So I'm going to show you both sides of it because it is a flip book and there are two covers to it. So this is one of the covers for issue 175 for early March. Remember, they said they multi-printed in the month. You had early and you had late. But this is not Nugenics. This is Marvel Comics Presents 175. And this thing still sells 25 to 40 bucks. But this used to be triple digits. I'm not joking. It used to be that high. And there's still some folks asking for it. But this used to be up there for a while. You can get like 80 to 80 to 100 bucks for this back in the day. And right now, 50 to 100 are the average listings. And this is that other cover that I mentioned. Because again, it is a flip book. You don't know which one's going to be presented when you're digging or flipping. What's going to be on presented in that bag and board. If it is bagged and boarded. But if not, you can just take it out and take a look at both. But there you go. This is the other side of that 175. So keep an eye out for both because you don't know which one you're going to see. But 50 to 100 bucks is where the asks are. So like I said, this used to be more of a thing. And there are not a lot of them graded either. At least not in high grade, as we only got 5 9.8s. So not even half a dozen. So maybe you get lucky. And I know, that black cover is going to be hard on a 9.8. It's not just the black cover. It's going to be hard on a 9.8 because nobody gave a crap about Marvel Comics Presents. It was just one of those books that a lot of people just treated like trash back in the day. There's some good stories, good anthology stuff in there. But I'll tell you, they're not wrong in the fact that issues that are worth or valuable are few and far between in that 175 run. There are a few, but not many. Just saying. With that said, keep an eye out for that last one. And that is our last book of the week, our last one on Last to Know. So until next time, that's all I got for you. Hopefully you found some interesting books that you can go and hunt for and go dig for and go maybe say you was like, you know what? I'll flip through a box. I saw a Strawberry Shortcake book. I wonder if it was issue 6. Go back and go take a look because you might find yourself some money. With that said, thanks for stopping by and checking this out. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Like I said, hopefully you found it informative and helpful. And I will see you all soon with some more content. All right.